But I want to test this out. So I'm going to go run once, and then in my Gmail, I'm going to send a new ticket to my Zendesk. So support, hi there, what are your opening hours? Let's send this, go back to Zendesk and refresh. Let's wait for that ticket to come in. Awesome, it's here. So hi there. That means our make scenario should have actually received the ticket. So here we are, it's still processing. Back in the ticket, hi there, our open hours are from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And this is the AI generated response directly from our make.com scenario. Hello legends. In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate your customer support tickets using make.com. I'll be using Zendesk in this video, and we'll be sending ticket information across to make.com via a webhook. And then after we process the ticket in make.com, we'll then update the ticket in Zendesk using API. What we're going to be building out here will actually work for other ticketing tools like Zohodesk, Freshdesk, or Gorgias. And the automation we're building out today is going to do 3 things for us. 1, it'll directly respond to general FAQ tickets. These are the easy tickets you most likely already have a knowledge base for that you can just upload into an AI and then start generating responses and sending them directly to a customer. The second thing we'll be doing is leaving internal notes on tickets. So for more complex tickets that aren't FAQ related, something that maybe is more complicated troubleshooting or returns or refunds, for those tickets, we'll be generating an internal note with a ticket summary and suggested next steps so that when your agent goes onto the ticket, they can hit the ground running. And finally, we'll be taking every solved ticket and generating an FAQ from it and sending that FAQ to an Airtable database. The cool thing with number 3 is you'll be able to take that FAQ from Airtable and then push it directly into your AI knowledge base, therefore making your AI responses sharper and more accurate week by week. Hey guys, just a quick pause. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. And then if you can comment what kind of content you want to see next, that would be awesome as well. All right, back to it. So jumping into make.com, let's start building out the scenario. The first module we're going to use is a webhook. So we're going to be sending a payload from our ticketing tool directly into this webhook. So I'm going to add a new webhook and call this Bart-Zendesk, click save, and I'm going to copy this address to my clipboard. So popping open my VS Code, I've got an API call here that I'm going to use for testing for my scenario. So I'm going to paste this URL from the webhook into my target URL for the API call, and then I'm going to be feeding in ticket IDs. So I'm going to go into Zendesk, find a ticket, then take that ID and manually send it across to my scenario here. This just saves me from having to go into Gmail and then manually create a new ticket in Zendesk and then wait for that to come into my scenario. This is a little testing hack that is going to save you a lot of time. All right, so let's click OK on this webhook. Now let's give it a run just to see how this is going to work. So I'm going to run this module on, pull up my VS Code. I'm going to put a dummy ticket number here, which is 30,000, and I'm just going to run this. Awesome. So now I received a payload into this module, which is ticket ID and then 3000, which is this exact same payload. So spoiler alert, but we're going to be sending this exact payload from Zendesk. Okay, let's press OK. Now the next thing we want to do is make an API call across to Zendesk to get some ticket information. So on the Zendesk API documentation, I'm going to go to show ticket and click on Node.js. And this is the configuration for the API call we're going to make. So I'm going to copy this URL. It's going to be a get method. So back in make, I'm going to paste this URL and this ticket ID, I'm just going to backspace and replace it with the ticket ID that we just received in this webhook. It's going to be a get method and we're going to need headers. So we're going to need authorization and content type. So back in Zendesk, let's copy this content type, paste it in, application JSON, then paste it in. And then we'll need authorization. So I'm going to copy this placeholder, paste it into make. Now we're going to have to base64 encode our email address and token. So I'm going to copy this placeholder as well, open up a base64 encoder, paste this format into here, backspace this, and then add my email address for the Zendesk account. Now we're going to need a token. So back in Zendesk, let's open up Admin Center. In a search tab, type in API, let's add an API token. I'm going to call this bar/make. Copy the API token, hit save here. Back in our encoder, let's paste in the token. And now let's click encode, copy this value, and back in make, let's paste in the value between these brackets. Awesome. Back in the API documentation, that's actually it. We don't need to send a body with this request. So I'm going to test this out now. So let's hit OK. Then I'm going to right click and run this module only. For ticket ID, I'm going to go back into my Zendesk and just find a random ticket. So I've got ticket ID 103. I'm going to copy that and then paste it into this placeholder here. Hit OK. Okay, I couldn't get authenticated. What seems to be the problem? Oh, okay, example.zendesk. So I didn't put my domain correctly here. So just copying my domain from my Zendesk URL. Let's paste it into here where it says example. Let's click OK. Let's run this module now and type in 103. Awesome. So we got a bunch of ticket information back. If we go to ticket data, so this entire string, this is a JSON string and it contains the ticket URL, what channel it was, some email addresses associated with like who the sender was, who it was sent to, and a bunch of other stuff that we want to access. So our next step is to use a JSON parse module. JSON parse module, and we're going to be entering our JSON string as the data from the API call. Now for the data structure, so we have to basically tell this JSON parse module, hey, the data that you get, this is how we want you to break it down. And a hack for that is go back into this API call, click on that data variable, triple click, highlight this entire JSON string, go back into the parse module and go add a data structure. I'm going to call this Bart data, click generate and paste in that entire string here. Click generate, and now the parse module is going to break it down by variable for us. Click save, click OK. And now, while I still have the JSON string from the API call copied on my clipboard, I'm going to right click and run the JSON parse module. I'm going to paste in that entire string, click OK. And now we've taken whatever we had from this API call and manually parsed it with this JSON module. So you can see we've got the ticket variable broken down by URL. We have the ID. We have the ticket subject, which we're definitely going to use, the ticket description, the status, and some other information. So that's really cool. Now, the next thing we want to do is install a router. So at this stage, like we spoke about earlier in the video, we want to create a flow for open tickets. So new tickets that need some kind of response or an internal note, and then for solve tickets, so that we can generate FAQs. So we got two routes here. We're going to have one route for the open tickets that we'll be responding to, and then one route for the solve tickets. So clicking on this link between the two modules, I'm going to set the condition of status. If the status is open, and I'm going to set the label as open tickets, I'm going to click OK. So if the status of the ticket that we get is open, it's going to go into this pathway. And if it's not open, it's going to test the second pathway. And we're going to use the exact same variable, so status. And again, this is the status from this JSON parse module. We're going to click that. And if it's equal to solved, and now we're going to say solved tickets. So to recap, we're receiving a ticket ID from Zendesk or your choice of ticketing tool. We're then making an API call to obtain more ticket data. We're parsing that data into separate variables. And now we're starting to access those variables to take certain routes for us. So route 1 is for open tickets that we'll be responding to. And then route 2 is for solve tickets that we'll be reviewing and generating FAQs from. So now for the open ticket route, because we've already identified that for general FAQs, we're happy to send responses. But for tickets that are around warranty or some more sensitive tickets that we don't want to send a public response to, instead we want to send an internal note to, we have to figure out how we're going to be able to split those tickets up. So the next step is to install a ChatGPT completion step. I'm going to add the system message to be, you are a helpful assistant that categorizes customer support tickets into one of the following categories. I'll say general question, next what are we going to have? Troubleshooting. Next we'll have warranty and refund. And finally, we'll give our completion step a fallback in case it's not super clear what the actual ticket's about. So we're going to say unsure. Now to complete the instructions, your output will be just one of the contact reasons without any other words or explanations. All right, also next we want to add the user role, and this is where we'll be including our ticket subject and ticket description. Now, important note here, you want to include the ticket subject as well as the description, which is the first message on that ticket. Because sometimes what customers do is they'll take the actual content of the ticket, like what it's about, and stick it into the subject line and then put nothing in a description. So you want to have both so that you cover all bases. So I'm going to say ticket subject and then go into our parsed ticket subject, put a comma and then put ticket description and then enter the description, and that's it. Okay, and max tokens. So you already know better than I would here for yourself, like if you have relatively long requests, maybe you want to put more tokens. I'm just going to put 1500 as a fail safe, just because I sometimes get super long emails from customers. So I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to run this once as well. So for ticket subject, I'm going to make it super easy, general question. And my description is, I'm wondering what time you open. Okay, so here's my result. And actually my result is general question, which is correct. And it only includes the tag in the response, general question, which makes it super easy for us because when we create another pathway, we can filter out what goes through that pathway by using the result of the ChatGPT completion. But let's try it out one more time. Let's put something a little bit more difficult. I'm just going to say hi here. And here I'm going to say, I have a red shirt that I just bought and it is torn. Let's see what we get from this. So I'm going to click OK. My response is warranty and refund. Awesome. So obviously I'm not going to get the AI response to respond to this warranty and refund request because, well, technically we have to process the request. So I can go ahead and build out a Shopify refund request flow, but I'm not going to do that in this video, but this is exactly how you would segment those tickets out by what the contact reason is on the ticket. So to keep things easy, I'm going to add a router here again. So let's go router. Now my first route is going to be, it's going to have the condition from this ChatGPT completion step, which is the result. And if the result is general question, and I'm going to use the exact same spelling and casing, whatever I just used here. So I use general question. I'm even going to copy it just to be super sure. Oops, I got to flick back this again. So result, and I'm going to put in general question, and I'm going to say general question tickets. Click OK. Awesome. So down this pathway, I'm only going to get general question tickets. For this pathway, I'm going to, actually, let's go back here first. Let's take troubleshooting. So troubleshooting is another one that you could actually create a custom GPT for, and then upload troubleshooting documentation, give it a custom troubleshooting prompt. And then you can handle these troubleshooting tickets differently to how you handle these general request tickets. So I'm going to say, if the condition here is result and troubleshooting, then I'm going to call this troubleshooting tickets, and click OK. So you would then go through, and for each of these ticket categories that you had here, and again, we're starting off very basic. We've got 5 here, but in reality, for your own customer support system, you might have 10 or 15 separate pathways. And the more you build this out, the more you realize that you have to segment tickets. And then once you start segmenting tickets, that's how you increase accuracy and customer satisfaction for these AI responses. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to assume we're going to be responding publicly to these general question tickets, but for everything else, I'm going to make it take path 2, and I'm just going to say the text operator, so this result does not equal to, and I'm going to type in general question. So what we're doing here is basically saying every general question can come through this pathway and everything else comes through this pathway. And we've made the condition that it does not equal general question. So we're basically grouping up all the other stuff, making a catch-all system into this pathway. And I'm going to call this everything else. And click OK. Okay, awesome. So now I'm going to go to ChatGPT again. And this time I want to use the messaging assistant. So I'm using the ChatGPT completion over here because I don't need to attach any files into this step. I'm just saying, hey, categorize a ticket for me. Here's all the information that you need. For this messaging assistant step, because it's going to be general FAQs that I need to preload or upload into an OpenAI assistant, I'm going to use this step because in the back end, I can attach the file to the assistant. And then in the front end here, so to speak, the front end, I can just target that assistant, feed in the question and get a response without having to worry about any other files. So to keep things super easy, I've already got my assistant hooked up and I've got a general question assistant. This is just super basic. So if you guys actually want a video on how to set up an OpenAI assistant for customer support, like how to set up a really cool prompt, how to build out documentation or knowledge base and attach it to that OpenAI assistant, let me know in the comments below and I'm happy to build that out. But right now it's just a super basic assistant and it's got one FAQ uploaded into it, which is about opening hours. So we're going to leave this as user, and the message we're going to be sending in is the same message that we sent in here actually, which is the ticket subject and a ticket description. So I'm going to go ticket subject and go to my JSON parse module, and we have ticket subject here, comma, ticket description. and ticket description. And that's it. Now I'm not going to use any of these image files. I'm going to leave thread ID blank because I want to create a new thread for this specific conversation. So I don't want to have an existing conversation. And then tool choice, I'm going to leave empty as well. So you don't need to choose tool choice here. So as long as you attach the file to your assistant or the vector store to your assistant in the backend, so in OpenAI in the dashboard, then you'll be totally fine. You don't need to do anything here. So I'm going to click OK. And now, as usual, I'm going to run just this module and see what we get out. So I'm going to say general question. And I'm just going to ping it and say, what are the opening hours? Because I've got literally one FAQ uploaded into this assistant. What are your opening hours? Let's click OK. Awesome. So we sent in the ticket subject and ticket description, and we ended up getting this response. So my assistant has been prompted to respond as if we're responding to emails. So another thing to note is that you might want to introduce this router to say, okay, open tickets that are emails, take this route, because your assistant will be prompted to have a more formal, hi there, here's the response, thank you, support team. For SMS, you might actually have another flow, and your responses would just be short and sweet. Yep, we're open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that's another upgrade you can make to this automation. You might want to filter out by ticket channel as well. So this is just assuming we're using email. So over here we have the result. Hi there, our open hours are from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Thanks, and then support AI. So our next step is going to be a HTTP call, and this request is going to add this response to the ticket. Okay, so now we're going to go across to Zendesk API documentation. Okay, so zooming out of here, we now want to update ticket. So we're going to choose the update ticket endpoint, which if you look at it, it's the exact same as the initial endpoint we used, which was the show ticket endpoint. We're changing the request to a put request. And if we scroll down, here's an example of the body that we need to send in our API call. But to make it even clearer, let's just scroll down a little bit more and go to Node.js. And now we have our entire API call configuration. So this is just setting up the body of the API call. And then our API call is here. So that's the same URL we had before. We're going to be using a put method, same content type and same authorization. So all we need to do is copy that previous API call we made and then add a body into it. So back in Make, I'm just going to start doing that now. Let's copy this URL. Paste it in here. It's going to be a put method. Okay, so now we need to set up our body. So I'm going to go to body type, click raw, scroll down and click application JSON. Now request content is this stuff here. So from this round bracket to this round bracket, let's just copy all that and then paste it in here. Okay, so this is pasted in a little bit ugly. So let's just try and neaten this up. So I'm going to click enter here, click enter here. All right, so I've done my best to salvage this. So let's zoom in. So now we have ticket comment body. So our ticket comment body, this is going to be the actual comment we're adding to the ticket. So we want to replace this with that ChatGPT assistant response. Public true means it's going to send directly to the customer. If we send it to public false, which we're going to do for the next flow, this is just going to include an internal note on the ticket. So we're going to leave it as true because we want to send public comments. So I'm going to backspace this, but if you are confident in your AI abilities, you can just change it to solved, or you can just change it to pending. But for me, I'm going to leave it as pending. So this is technically responding to the customer. We're putting it into the pending queue, so it's out of the main inbox. And now I'm just going to backspace this custom status ID. And the final thing we want to do here is backspace this body and go to this assistant message and click result, paste it here. And now we're going to be sending this specific, hi there, our opening hours, our XYZ directly into the ticket. So I'm going to click OK. Now let's see if I've done everything correctly. Run this module. Ticket ID is going to be 103. I'm just going to say, hi there, this is a test. Click OK. All right, seems to be working. And we had status 200, so it did work. Back in Zendesk, hi, this is a test. So beautiful, we've got a working system. So now we're done with this first flow. Now for the second flow, because this is a catch-all for absolutely every other type of request we're gonna get, I would normally build out individual flows, make individual assistants. But for this, I'm just gonna use a ChatGPT completion step. And I'm gonna say, hey, here is some ticket information, summarize it for me, and then give me some actionable next steps so that my agent can hit the ground running when they get onto the ticket. So I'm going to use model GPT-4o, add the system message, which is, you are a helpful customer support assistant. Your job is to summarize customer support tickets and provide actionable next steps. Your format is, and now let's say the format ticket summary, let's go XYZ. Then I'll put /n, which is new line, which is basically going to say, hey, and the line right below it, put this next part. I'm just going to call this suggested next steps. And then A, B, C. Close the quotation mark, and that's it. Add the user role, and same as before, we're just gonna include the ticket subject, which is here, and then the ticket description, which is here. So as you're watching this, you probably already have ideas in your head of, oh, I already know five types of tickets that I get that I can automatically make flows for this. So if you have those creative juices flowing, that's absolutely awesome. And that's my main goal here, because this is a beginner template. You can get started with this, but you will definitely start seeing different patterns, different things. And once your brain starts thinking like in the Matrix, that's the stage that you want to be in. That's the place that you want to try and find. So just as before, I'm going to go crazy with the tokens, click OK. And now I'm going to run this by itself. So subject, hi there. And what do we got here? Hi, I have a red shirt. Whoops, not a red shirt. A red shirt that I just bought and it is broken. Yeah, the red shirt is broken. Let's click OK. Awesome. So we have ticket summary, customer reported receiving a defective red shirt, wicked, suggested next steps, apologize, and then do a bunch of different things. So this time, because we're going to be sending this as an internal note onto the ticket, I'm just going to get this and clone it because it already has everything we need from what we set it up before. The only thing we're going to change is this result. We're now changing that to the result of this ChatGPT completion, which is up top here. So it's got ticket summary already. So I'm going to click OK. So while I'm here, I'm just going to copy this summary as well. And even though we know it works, I just want the satisfaction of running it through. So let's go ticket ID is 103. And the result is that entire message from before. I'm going to click OK. Awesome. Back in Zendesk, and then we have our response here. So I might want to do some formatting work on this later on, but for now I'm pretty happy with that. And I think if it comes through the ChatGPT completion directly into the API call and not copied and pasted by us, it might actually come out nicer formatting. So we'll give that a go a little bit later on. So now we've just set up the flow for our open tickets. General responses that are public. Whoops, sorry. Actually, one thing that I didn't do here is put this to false. Okay, good that we're testing. So let's just actually test this again. Perfect. So I'm gonna go 103. And this time we don't want an actual response to the customer. We want it to be an internal note on the ticket. All right, wicked. So back in Zendesk, that was a public response to the customer. And they would have been like, what is going on? But now we have our internal note, and that's denoted by this yellow box. Wicked. So now we have completed our flow for open tickets, sending both public replies and then internal suggested notes. So now the final thing we want to do is for solve tickets. Okay, so the first thing we want to do for solve tickets is just get every single comment on that ticket. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to clone it because I know I want to be using pretty much the same API call. Let's delete that module. And now we still have our filter here. Cool. So for solve tickets, and we have a pre-built API call. Now back in Zendesk, so let's zoom out here, go into ticket comments, and let's find list comments. So this is going to give all the comments on that ticket. As usual, go into Node.js. This is our favorite language to get our API calls in. Let's get our URL, which again, if you remember the first two URLs that we used, this is the exact same. We're just appending comments to the end of it. So I'm just going to copy comments, and it's going to be a get request, and we don't have a body, and we have our content type and authorization. Okay, so I just need to append comments here. Wicked. It's going to be a get request. So we're going to be getting the comments from the ticket, and we don't need a body. So I'm just going to backspace this, and then I'm going to go empty, and I'm going to go empty. Now let's hit OK. And you guessed it. Let's run this once. We're going to get ticket 103. Let's scroll down, and then we have ticket data here. So we're gonna get a collection of this original message, my testing message, another testing message, my accidental summary message, but we should not get this internal note. So that's all this. That's a lot of hoo-ha here. So as you can see, it's a JSON string with a bunch of comments. So all we wanna do now is get another ChatGPT completion step. So again, you might make an assistant for this step that is preloaded with certain information, but I don't think you need to do that right now. I think a ChatGPT completion step that has a pretty solid prompt will do exactly what you need here. So we're gonna go for GPT-4o again. We'll add the system message to be, you are a customer support ticket analyst, and you review customer support tickets, and then generate one succinct FAQ for the ticket. So you could say, hey, generate 2 to 3 FAQs. You could also use this step, like this flow, as a full analysis flow. You can say, what is the sentiment of the customer? You can say how many comments were on the ticket. If it's over 10, then flag this as in a separate table, because tickets that have more than 10 responses, they're like high friction tickets, maybe more prone to churn, and we want to assess them differently. So we're keeping things super basic here, but you could use this as an assistant that's going to be reviewing all of your customer support tickets, not just generating FAQs, but actually giving you really like handy insights. So yep, we're just generating one FAQ. As normal, our message for the user is going to be the ticket subject and all of the ticket comment. So I'm going to go ticket subject and then paste this in. And then I'm going to go ticket comments, and I'm going to find our API call that we just made, and I'm going to go to this data variable and paste it in. So it's going to contain literally a disgusting JSON string of ticket comments, but when the AI is processing it, it's going to be able to distinguish and differentiate whatever it needs to. So I'm not even going to clean anything up. And now for max tokens, as you can see here, this can get really long, right? It's already really long now. So you might want to play around a little bit with your max tokens. I'm just going to go 2,500. So here you might run through and just test like 10, 20 different tickets with their ticket comments and just see how many tokens do you actually need. Now, you probably already guessed what I'm going to do next. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to run this once. For ticket subject, I'm just going to say, hi there. And for ticket comments, I'm putting that entire thing down. Let's click OK. And what do we have? What are your open hours? Our open hours are from 3 to 6 p.m. So it cut all the fluff that we had, and we probably didn't have too much fluff on this ticket, but that's awesome. Now we have an FAQ. So our next step is to add this to an Airtable database. So let's find Airtable, and we're going to be creating a new record. So I've already got my Airtable synced up. I'm going to choose Zendesk, and my table's already set up. So it's just table 1, and it has only 2 columns. One is the ticket ID. So I'm going to paste in the ticket ID. Again, I could do the ticket ID from this parsed JSON module or from our original ticket ID. Both will be the same. They're obviously different here because I've put different sets of information to different places, but for consistency, I'll just use the parsed JSON module. And for the FAQ, I'm going to use the result out of this ChatGPT completion step. So the result is here. And now I'm going to click OK. So my Airtable looks like this. It's literally this basic, but I have my ticket ID column and my FAQ column. So let's test this out. Before we test it out, let's grab this result, copy it, and run this module only. So ID is going to be 103 and result is going to be that FAQ. Awesome. So it was added to our Airtable. Let's check that out. Over here, 103, and let's expand this, and we have our FAQ. And that's it. And now you have a fully functioning customer support assistant that'll respond to open tickets publicly for general FAQs, or it'll include helpful internal notes so your agents can hit the ground running. And number 3, it'll review your solved tickets for whatever criteria you want. In our case, we want to generate FAQs and then add them to a database. So the final thing I want to quickly cover off is setting up the integration between Zendesk and Make.com. So over in Zendesk, let's go to the admin center. The first thing we want to do is set up a webhook. So we want some way of connecting Zendesk directly to Make.com. So in the search panel, I'm going to go to webhook, click on webhook. Let's go create webhook. And we're going to be using the trigger or automation. So every time a ticket gets updated, every time a new ticket is created into our inbox, anytime an action is taken on a ticket, we can use that as an event that then triggers something else to happen. So that's why we use trigger. Now I'm going to call this Bart-make. No need for a description. Now the URL is this webhook URL. So let's copy the address to clipboard and paste it over here. Let's leave it as post. So request format, we'll leave it as JSON. We're not going to need any authentication and not going to need any headers. So let's test this webhook. I'm going to go to custom test and I'm going to send ticket _ID and 103. So just quickly, let's go back to the make scenario, run this module only, and now I'm going to hit send test, and we've accepted it here. And there we go. We've received ticket ID 103. Let's click create webhook, finish setup, leave without connecting. And there you go. You've just made the webhook connection from Zendesk to Make.com. Now we need a way to connect the webhook to the ticket, because the ticket has a dynamic ID and we want to be sending that dynamic ID to Make.com each time so we can target that specific ticket. So let's go to trigger, open up triggers. All right, so let's go to create a trigger. So I'll need to create 2 triggers, one for new tickets to come into the inbox and then one for solved tickets. So in this trigger, I'm just going to do it for brand new tickets into the inbox. I'm going to call this new. I'm going to choose notifications and let's go for ticket is created. So this is going to be brand new tickets that I created in my inbox. Then I'm going to go action and notify by active webhook and choose Bart-make, which is the webhook that we just made. Now for the payload, we know we want to send the ticket ID, and then we're going to find the placeholder for ticket ID from Zendesk. And this placeholder is going to be the dynamic ticket ID. When a new ticket comes into your inbox, we're going to take that ticket ID and send it across to make.com. Awesome, let's click create. So now you would go back and actually create one for solved tickets as well. But I want to test this out. So I'm going to go run once, and then in my Gmail, I'm going to send a new ticket to my Zendesk. So support, hi there. What are your opening hours? Let's send this. Go back to Zendesk and refresh. Let's wait for that ticket to come in. Awesome, it's here. So hi there. That means our make scenario should have actually received the ticket. So here we are, it's still processing. Back in the ticket, hi there, our open hours are from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And this is the AI generated response directly from our make.com scenario. All right, guys. So now we have a fully functioning customer support assistant. Let me know if you like this level of detail or if you want to see more make.com builds. And if you haven't already, please like the video and hit subscribe.